Hi everyone, and a big welcome to the Living with SMA podcast. We talk about all things spinal muscular atrophy related, but topics discussed are not exclusively for individuals with SMA, so there should be something here for everyone. We also do things differently. For starters, our charity SMA UK uses different hosts, and everyone involved gets a final say in the creative process of making these episodes. We cut through the jargon, and the content is accessible for everyone. All the stories are individual, and we are committed to sharing as many different perspectives as we can for our listeners. So if you're listening to this and have a burning desire to talk about a particular subject, then please reach out to us on our social media channels or send us a quick email. And remember, no topic is off the table. If there is something the SMA community wants to talk about, this is the place. We really hope you enjoy the podcast, and please do connect with our charity and share your comments online and let us know what you think. From all the team at SMA UK, thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1, yeah! Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest SMA podcast, and we're here on a sunny day in June to celebrate Pride Month. So Pride Month was inspired by the Stonewall riots, which happened back in 1969, and we've had lots of celebrations already this month, and we're about midway through already, so really great to be here and to present. So just a bit of an overview from me. So my name is Stephen Jones. I have SMA type 3. I work in the civil service and do quite a bit of work with SMA UK. And Pride Month is really important to me because I think it just enables us to sort of pause and be thinking, actually, this is great how far the LGBT plus community has come since the Stonewall riots, and really to celebrate difference and intersectionality even more than we already do all year round. So really delighted to be here and to celebrate this month. And also my pronouns are he, him. So Jordanne, shall we come to you?
Hi Stephen, my name's Jordanne. I have SMA type 2 and my pronouns are she and her. I'm part of this podcast just because I'm in the LGBT community and love going to Pride and love talking about all things LGBT+.
Thank you, and great to have you. Shelby.
Hi, my name's Shelby. I'm from Leeds and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a black woman with blue braids and a blue frilly little top on. I also have SMA type 2. And I've joined this podcast because I also love going to Pride. I'm also a queer woman. I just love talking about LGBTQ plus things in general and just read a lot through it.
Great, thank you, Shelby. And then finally, Emily.
So I'm Emily and I have Pompe disease. My pronouns are she, her. I'm part of the podcast because I like going to Pride and I identify as a lesbian and I'm disabled.
Great. Thank you, Emily, and great to have you with us. And I love how everyone really loves going to Pride. I remember when I went to the Pride in London, it must be like 6 years ago now, and all I can remember is trying to get through this massive crowd of people in my wheelchair, and it was like an absolute nightmare. But obviously the parade was great and the music was great and it was really good to go along. So I'm glad others go to lots of different Pride events. So we're just going to kick off with hopefully a fun opening question about your sort of Pride anthem or song. So what song always reminds you of Pride or really gets you in the mood to start celebrating?
Shall I kick us off?
Yeah, go on, Jordan.
My song of the summer will be Hot to Go by Chapel Roan. Chapel Roan will be the queen of the gays. I can see it coming for the summer.
Yeah.
So that would be my pick.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. How about you, Shelby?
I feel like a song that reminds me of Pride. Sorry, I've got two answers. So a song that reminds me of Pride is something like It's Raining Men, like that plays like everywhere, constantly. But I think like my favourite queer song right now is Lunch by Billie Eilish, which is probably a really basic answer, but it's just so good.
She's brilliant, isn't she? Very, very good. And how about you, Emily?
Yeah, on the gay scene in Swansea, it was quite a lot of Lady Gaga. So anything Lady Gaga just reminds me of Pride.
No, brilliant. Thanks everyone for your answers there. That's really, really good. And it's interesting, I don't really have a Pride song that comes to mind. I mean, I always think of like Cher or like really big party songs, just celebrating and having a good time, really. So that's probably what I would go to all of the time. And so we've spoken a bit about, actually, all of you have been to Pride events. You love going, you love celebrating. Can you just tell me a bit more about, I suppose, how you celebrate Pride Month, what parades you attend, and how you find the accessibility of them? And Shelby, I was going to come to you first on that one, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So I haven't been to like many Pride events, but I did go to Leeds Pride a couple of years ago with my friends, and it was so much fun. There was a lot of drinking, a lot of dressing up. It was just very chaotic trying to get around from like one part of town to the other, just because the crowds were like so intense. But I feel like Leeds are quite good for disabled access anyway, so there was always people around to like, well, that's not always, at a certain point there was people to like guide you around to make sure that I was safe and to get me to where I need to go, which is amazing. But they need to have that like everywhere, it's not just in one place. And I also couldn't go to the toilet, but that's nothing new.
That's really frustrating. Was that because they didn't have any facilities there?
Yeah, there was no changing places. I'd have to go like right to like the top of town to go pee, and I was like, I'll just hold it.
That is just, it's so annoying that still happens, but I'm glad you still were able to have a really good time and celebrate it.
Thank you.
And how are you, Jordan?
So before we move on from the toilet thing, I've been very lucky to attend a couple of prides now where they've had a revolution ban. It's Revolue with LOO UK, and it's effectively a change in places on wheels. So keep an eye out for those at any local Pride events and contact Pride organisers to get them involved because they're a fantastic resource.
I've never heard of that before. That's so good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they are fantastic because it takes away all that stress.
Yeah.
You don't need to think about where you are. You can have as many drinks as you like. Not that I do that. It is fantastic. But I go to different scales of Pride. So I go to my local one in my town. It's very small and not always quite the most accepting crowd. So that's an interesting dynamic. And then I've been to, I think the biggest I've been to is Birmingham. And that's got a little bit too big for me now. It's a bit too much of a party scene. I like the balance of going around the stores, getting lots of free pens, but also enjoying some good music. So.
Brilliant, thank you. And tell us a bit more about when you said they weren't the most sort of accepting or welcoming crowd there.
I live in quite a small town, and they've got a lot of traditional views, if that's the kind way to say it. So we have just people adding comments and giving us some glares. But the organisers do a really good job to sort of separate the area and make sure that there's a police presence and things like that to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a shame that happens, but I'm glad there's an element of safety there. So thanks for sharing that, Jordan. And how about you, Emily?
I've been to quite a few prides over the years. The best pride I've ever been to was in Philadelphia. I was lucky enough to go there. My auntie lived there at the time, and Betty were playing from the L Word. So that was like the highlight of my holiday. But normally it's just like Cardiff Pride. Swansea's not amazing at holding a pride. The Cardiff's always a good atmosphere, and there's a lot of bars then at the end of the night. And it's quite easy to get on the train there and back. And like Jordanne said, with the lift, the van that's got the toilet, they only let you on as well. So it's like, it's only for disabled people. So you don't get randoms in there, and then you're waiting ages for the toilet. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think it's been really interesting here because we've spoken about some of the challenges about being disabled and accessing Pride, mostly around the toilet facilities, plus also some of the wider challenges of actually some people in society still not agreeing with Pride or still not sort of accepting it in lots of ways. And I suppose, do you think that disabled people are sort of welcome in the LGBT plus community? And Shelby, should we come to you again first?
Yeah, sure. I do feel like we are welcome to an extent, but as you're aware, Pride isn't the most accessible. So I have seen like a lot of disabled people, especially those that are still like shielding from COVID, they put on their own events, which is good, but they also shouldn't have to do that. Like, they should be welcome into spaces that they feel safe enough and like, yeah. So yeah, I think we're welcome to a point, but I feel like as like a disabled black bisexual woman, kind of like in a lot of different intersections, I'm always getting comments that are like, God has punished you twice because you're gay and black and disabled, and like all stuff like this. So I feel like people need to be more aware of the intersections so they can be more accepting of queer people.
No, definitely. I think it's a really, really interesting point how all of the intersectionality interlinks and how that sort of changes your experience of the overall month and the impact of it. And how about you, Emily? How have you found about that sort of acceptance of disabled people in the LGBT plus community?
I think I've had quite a good, like a positive experience with it. Like one of our clubs in Swansea, the toilet is upstairs, and it's like I've always had people like, "Oh, just carry you up," and they mean well. Like obviously, I'm not gonna take them up on that when they're drunk, but it's one of the. I think it is a good community to be disabled in because it's such a small community as well. So you kind of get to know everybody, and then they look out for you then.
Yeah, that's really positive, Emily. Thanks for sharing. And a slight detail, but I remember at university, someone carried me and my electric wheelchair, which must have weighed a ton, up like 3 flights of stairs so we could hang out in someone's like kitchen or room. And looking back, I was thinking, why on earth did I let them do that? You know, but I must have had a few drinks first.
I've been carried up the stairs so many times by like anyone who will help, the bouncers, just to get me in the club because there's a limited gay bars, so it's just like, yeah, we'll get you in.
That's really good. That sounds really supportive. So how about you, Jordan?
I'd say that I've had mixed experiences of acceptance. There's a lot of people that will just say that we're happy to see you here, but there's also people that take it too far and you become their inspiration. It's like, oh, it's so lovely to see you out and about. Or they're like, oh, are you here with your friend? Are you here supporting your friend? It's like, actually, no, I'm gay and I'm here for a reason. So that's sometimes difficult. And sometimes I find it hard to access spaces too. I've not been carried up any flights of stairs, drunk or sober, but I have struggled to get through crowds before. lots of drunk people falling over me, and that can make it feel less welcoming for sure.
Definitely. And I think my experience of been is I find the overall community very inclusive, very supportive, but still within, let's say, the gay community, there's still quite a lot of like stereotypes. So you must do certain things. So you must go, I don't know, clubbing or something like that, and you must look a certain way. So I've sometimes found that a bit sort of challenging, that even though this is a really inclusive sort of a networking community, there's still within that community quite ingrained stereotypes sometimes about actually what a gay person should look like or should be like, or what they should do on like the weekends and all of that stuff. So I found that to be sort of one of the barriers. And Jordan, I wanted to pick your point up about when you said that some people sort of said, "Why are you here?" sort of thing. You know, why have you come along? Are you with your friend? Would you say that sort of lots of people assume that maybe you don't have a sexuality, or maybe even that you're asexual? Do you think that's sometimes an assumption?
As a huge misconception, I think, for the disabled community, that we are completely asexual beings. We're not interested in dating and romance and sex and things like that, which is obviously what Pride's all about. It's about celebrating those things.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. How about you, Shelby? Have you had any experiences of that?
Yes, that kind of. So I've recently got into my first relationship with a woman, even though it's like long distance. And I still think people in my, like, close people, like in family wise, are still struggling to like accept that. Or like they'll fall into that awkward in between where they can accept it, but they won't want to talk about them or they won't ask about them. And that could be a little bit difficult compared to when I was with a guy. It was very different, and I've noticed like the difference in conversations with people.
It's really interesting. I remember once I was out with one of my friends. We actually went on holiday to Belgium, and they met someone, and that person was like, "Oh, you're a really good person," sort of like being, you know, supporting Steve on this holiday and all of that stuff. And I was thinking, well, actually, like you don't know my relationship there. You know, they were just a friend, but it could have been more. And I just think assumptions like that can be really interesting. And how about you, Emily? How's your experiences been?
Mine have been more, the negative ones have been more from straight people. So, like, she's a lesbian, how does she have sex when she's disabled? And, I don't know, I'm just like, you're straight, so you don't really know how it works anyway. But I haven't had negativity from the community, really. I think I've been quite lucky. Whereas Swansea's quite a small gay scene again, and then, I don't know, everybody just knows each other, and I haven't had that negative where, you know, I've felt when I go out, you know, it's not really like, why are you here? They all knew why I was there.
That's really good, Emily. And I think it's really interesting how we've all had a real variety of experiences here, which is really, really, really positive. And quite a lot of them are sort of thinking about breaking barriers, sort of defying stereotypes as well. And do any of you have a potentially funny or empowering story about when you've actually done that? So when you have sort of challenged the status quo or challenged someone about a particular stereotype they might have?
Yeah, I feel like because I don't like doing social media as like a job, that whenever I'm like in a relationship, like there's always something negative. People have to say like, how do you have sex and how do you do this? So like, what can you offer your partner? So I feel like I'm always like challenging people with like videos like that or like commenting back to like trolls and things. That's like the only thing I can really think of. But I don't tend to take those too seriously because the people that I don't know that are really irrelevant. So
I think that's really interesting how lots of people think it's acceptable to ask disabled people how they have sex.
Yeah.
Like what is even up with that? I mean, you wouldn't go up to someone in the street that didn't have a disability and sort of ask that, would you?
Yeah.
Has anyone else here had experiences of that?
Yeah, definitely on like the dating app.
Lucky to avoid it.
Definitely with the dating apps. It's like, can you feel everything? And they're just like, oh my gosh. Just like, can you have
yeah, I agree.
And then you're like, yes. But, you know, they wouldn't ask a non-disabled person that in the first sentence. But that's like the main thing they want to know. I guess, you know, it's important.
Yeah. I also feel like if you're asking those...
I've definitely had the thing.
I also feel like if you're asking those questions, then...
Sorry.
So I feel like if you're asking those questions, like, you've probably got a very vanilla sex life. Like, if you can't, like, put two and two together and figure it out, then you just sound really boring. So...
Yeah, definitely. I find that so funny. And moving on, I suppose, to LGBT plus people in the media and in television. Do we think that's improved over recent years? Are we sort of seeing more LGBT plus characters? Is there good representation as well of both disabled and LGBT plus? What do we think? Jordan, do you have any views?
Off the top of my head, I can only think of one show that's done a decent representation of being queer and disabled, and that was the New Our Generation. Can't remember what it was called. But I think that was the first time I'd seen a disabled woman with a sexual storyline.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Really good.
How about you, Emily?
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't know anybody, but like Jordan just said, the L word, the new generation Q, was it? She was, she had quite good sex scenes as well, which like, it wasn't just like they cut it. It showed her like how she would actually do it. I don't think she was a lesbian though, was she? Was she a lesbian? But it did have good sex scene in it. You know, for the character.
Yeah. And how are you, Shelby? What are your thoughts?
I can't think of anybody that is disabled and queer. So I'm going to have to check out what these guys are talking about because that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone either. Which probably, I don't know, many of us haven't been able to identify, so maybe that says something about the media there, and maybe there should be more representation. I can think about a lot more disabled people in recent years. I know the programme Sex Education was very good at sort of representing disability as well as lots of degrees of different sexualities and all of that. But not that intersectionality and people's experiences of that, which I think is really interesting. And just on the topic of sort of the media, do any of you have sort of a favourite film or maybe even a TV show related to maybe even Pride Month or LGBT plus?
At the minute, I'm
Emily,
like
what are your thoughts?
At the minute, I was like really into I Kissed a Girl. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like It's kind of like Love Island for gay people, and I never saw the appeal to Love Island before. But now I'm just like, yeah, it is actually really good. So it's like they're in like Italy and these girls, and it is quite good. It is really good.
And I saw you nodding there, Jordan. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, I Kissed a Girl is fantastic. It's the gay Love Island we never had.
Very good. Is that your sort of film or TV show that you're sorry.
I'd possibly recommend the movie called Inside I'm Dancing.
Okay.
It was just a narrative of two guys. They're both disabled and they basically decide to move out together. It's really heartwarming, sort of breaking the stereotypes, and it's a really good insight into physical disability. So it's not exactly pride, but it's about being proud of being disabled and sort of breaking those stereotypes.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really interesting. I've never heard of that one. And how about you, Shelby?
I have not watched I Kissed a Girl, and I'm literally dying to watch it, but I don't have a TV license, but that's a separate conversation. So I will watch it at some point, and I can't wait to talk about it with you all. But I do love sex education. It's like one of my favourite shows because I feel like it really pushed the barrier with like certain topics. I could really appreciate that. Yeah, I've watched it far too many times, but it's so good.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think for me, I've probably got a few that I would want to mention. Do you know, I loved Heartstopper. Did anyone watch that? Yeah, some nods.
I've never seen that.
That one. I was like, oh, sorry, Emily. Say that again, would you?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. I heard it was really good, though.
Yeah, definitely season 1 is the one to go for. But no, I thought that was brilliant. I also loved Love Victor on that was on Disney Plus, and that was sort of a follow up from the Love Simon. I think I like Love Victor more than I like Love Simon, to be honest. And that was really interesting because I think like his dad was completely fine with it, but his mum sort of wasn't. And then I thought that it was interesting seeing that relationship play out as it went through the series. And what's the other? And then I always really enjoy the film Call Me by Your Name, and I've read the book as well. With I think you meant to say his name is Timothée, and I really like that. Has anyone else seen that film?
Yeah, I haven't seen that film, no, but Timothée is the way.
Yeah.
And we can't move on from Heartstopper just yet because it broke my heart, but also made me the happiest I've been. Really recommend if you haven't seen it.
Would you get this plus one?
Yeah, it was brilliant, and such a diverse sort of storyline. So touching on sort of like transgender, asexuality, bisexual, gay as well, sort of thing. So I thought it was really powerful how they sort of portrayed it, and how it sort of showed that sometimes things don't have to be as difficult as sometimes they are in the community. So I thought it was really good.
Can I change my film answer?
Of course you can.
Because I've just remembered the 2014 film called Pride. And it is a really, really sweet film about how activists and minors come together to support each other and raise funds for their relevant causes. But there's just one line, and it's in Welsh, so you have to excuse my accent, Emily. She goes, "Where are my lesbians?" And I quote that as often as I can when I enter a gay space. So I recommend Pride.
It's like a Sonachly accent.
Yeah, I love that film too. That's a good shout out. Just on Pride then. So let's say we were going to be hosting a Pride dinner party. So the four of us, and we could each bring one person from the LGBT plus community along. Who would we choose? And let's see who, the collection of people we'd end up with at this party. So, Shelby, who would you bring along?
This is so hard to choose just one.
The blue
I don't like it. I do love Red Air Rap. Like, I think she's incredible. I saw her in February and I've seen her again. Get Leeds Rest, because I think that just proves my obsession. I think I would invite her, but also Shooty Gatworth, because I think he's also incredible. So yeah, I'm taking 2, sorry.
That's fine. No, that's good. And how about you, Emily? Who would you bring?
Probably bring Lucy Spranigan, because like she could just play the music as well then, and she seems like a really good laugh. She's like she doesn't drink alcohol either, so I wouldn't have that pressure to drink alcohol, so it'd be great.
Yeah. She just brings good vibes, not the alcohol. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. As long as she's got her guitar, can have the music and the banter. I think she'd be quite good to hang out with.
No, definitely. And Jordan, who are you bringing?
Well, I'm a bit jealous of your guests, actually. I quite like Renee Rapp and Lucy Spraggan. I might just join in with you guys, if that's all right.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've got a great dinner party so far. Do you know what? I don't know who I'd bring. I was thinking some like Troye Sivan, because I just thought that would be what a just laugh. What a great time that would be. So just a real good party vibes, wouldn't it?
We could all start busting a move.
Yeah.
To got me started. I love that song.
Yeah, I love it as well. And just about coming out. So that's always a big deal for lots of people. And some people will be surprised. Some people potentially won't be. Some people will care a lot. Some people won't care at all. But does anyone have sort of a coming out story that you sort of wanted to share, and how you found that? And Emily, I know you've got one, a really interesting one, so I'll start with you.
Yeah, so we went on holiday to Florida, and I was quite young. My brother was even younger, and he noticed that I was like staring at women a lot. And so we were on the plane then going home, and he was just like, "You're a lesbian, tell mommy." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Mom, I'm a lesbian." On the way home from Florida. Yeah. So she was fine about it. Her sister's a lesbian as well. So she wasn't really shocked. She was like, I thought so. Okay. But I made her tell my dad, because he was like brought up quite religious, and he didn't get it either. No. He was just like, "Oh, cool. At least you can't get pregnant." Well, yeah.
Dads are so funny about it, aren't they? My dad was, when I first told him, he was like, "Oh, it's okay, I like women too." And now he comes to Pride with me.
I love that. What a supportive set of dads we've got there. I love it.
My dad drove me all the way to Brighton Pride once. So that was quite nice of him, because I didn't think... Because he's like an older generation of fathers as well. So, yeah, he's been really good about it, and he's liked my partners over the years and stuff like that.
That's really positive. Shelby, Jordan, did you have any coming out stories you wanted to share? And no worries if not.
First of all, both of your dads are so slay. I love that for you. I was the most nervous to tell my dad, because, like, yeah, he used to make a lot of jokes at, like, gay people. Not like in a malicious way, just in like a doesn't know enough, feels awkward when made jokes kind of way. So I was not nervous to tell him, because I didn't know what he'd say. But after I stuttered my way through it after like 10 minutes, he was like, "Okay." And I was like, is that it? It was like, yeah. He's like, I mean, you talk about the LGBTQ plus community all the time. So I didn't rule it out. I was like, oh my God, 5 years of like stressing for no reason. And he's like the most accepting out of anybody. He's my family. He's like the best. It's like, yeah, love him to bits.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, sometimes you just need to like ripping off a plaster, isn't it? You just need to do it at once, sort of thing. But it still can be very difficult in that sense. So we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered our dinner party, Pride anthem, what disabled and LGBT plus people are portrayed in the media or not portrayed. Not many of that intersectionality being represented, and also some personal stories about sort of coming out and what that means. And the last question I wanted to cover today is there might be lots of disabled people and members of the LGBT plus community sort of struggling to find their place in both communities. And I wanted to get your advice to those people. What advice would you give them? Jordan, over to you.
I'd probably just remind them that they belong in those spaces, and that if something isn't accessible, then it can be made accessible. So don't give up. Send some emails, get your friends together, and have a fantastic time.
I love that. Really, really positive. Thank you. Shelby?
Yeah, I would say that if you are struggling to find a community, like, try make, like, queer friends online. I don't know how, but I think I've got more, like, queer friends than straight friends. So, like, I've got a really good circle around me, which I'm really grateful for. So, yeah, there's always people online you can make friends with that'll be, like, your support through anything.
Good. Yeah, really good advice. And how about you, Emily?
I'd probably say, like Shelby said, online is a really good platform now. So finding like gay people in your kind of area just to hang out with. So they're normally like the easiest people to get on with. So, and then find like, I don't know, I am 35, so when I came out, it was easier to like find the groups, the local group. So, yeah, just try and get into the like smaller communities because they will look out for you.
Yeah, really, really good. Good advice, everyone. And what would my advice be? It would probably be you are exactly who you should be, and you are exactly where you should be in life as well, sort of thing. And it may take a bit of time to sort of find out where you fit and what people that you mould with and what your support network and what your friends are. But that's completely fine, and just take your time and go with what's right for you. So that would be my advice. So thank you, everyone, for being on this Pride podcast for SMA. It's been great to hear everyone's experiences. And for all the listeners out there, I hope that you've enjoyed listening.
You've been listening to the Living with SMA podcast. We hope you can join us again next time, but in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can find out more on our website at smauk.org.uk.